16 years of marriage teaches you many things. For example, you learn that when your wife says, "I'm just going to stop by for 20 minutes," you should cancel all plans for the next 3 hours. You learn that "we don't need anything from Target" is one of the greatest works of fiction in human history. And you definitely learn that if your wife suddenly says, "maybe we should get involved in the community," your peaceful life is about to experience what insurance companies refer to as an unexpected event. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 44 years old, an engineer, and a man whose idea of a perfect Saturday involves grilled burgers, a football game on TV, and absolutely no meetings with strangers. My wife, Lauren, is 42 and the exact opposite. She's beautiful, energetic, and somehow capable of making friends with people after standing next to them for 90 seconds. Lauren once spent 10 minutes talking to a cashier and came home knowing where the woman's daughter was applying to college. Meanwhile, I've worked with the same guy for 8 years and still don't know if he's married. For most of our marriage, our differences balanced each other out. Lauren brought life into the house. I brought batteries. We had 2 kids. Emma was 13, Ryan was 15. By the time this story starts, they had reached that magical stage called teenagers. Apparently, once children become teenagers, they begin treating parents the way cats treat furniture. They acknowledge your existence only when they need food, money, or Wi-Fi passwords. So naturally, Lauren started feeling something I didn't fully understand at first: empty nest syndrome. Technically, the kids still lived with us. They simply preferred communicating through brief appearances and mysterious grunts. Emma spent most evenings in her room talking with friends. Ryan had discovered sports, video games, and the shocking revelation that parents are embarrassing. Lauren missed being needed. I noticed it slowly. She would stand outside Emma's room and ask if she wanted to go shopping. "No thanks, Mom." She'd ask Ryan if he wanted help with homework. "I'm good." One evening, after dinner, she looked around the quiet kitchen and sighed. "Do you ever feel like we're becoming unnecessary?" I looked up from unloading the dishwasher. "Impossible. Nobody else in this house knows where we keep the extra paper towels." She laughed, but I could tell something was bothering her. Then we moved. Nothing dramatic. Just a better neighborhood in the suburbs. More space, better schools, tree-lined streets. People who actually decorated for holidays with a level of enthusiasm normally reserved for national emergencies. During our first week, Lauren met 3 neighbors. By the second week, she knew 15. By the end of the month, I was beginning to suspect she possessed some kind of supernatural ability. One Saturday morning, I walked into the kitchen and found 6 people drinking coffee with my wife. I nearly called the police before realizing Lauren had invited them. "Oh good, you're awake," she said happily. "Michael, this is Jessica, Mark, Denise, Kelly, Tom, and Mrs. Henderson." Mrs. Henderson had apparently lived in the neighborhood since the invention of electricity. Everyone smiled at me. I smiled back with the enthusiasm of a hostage reading prepared statements. Lauren practically glowed. For the first time in months, she looked happy, really happy. And honestly, I loved seeing that. After 16 years together, you notice things. You notice when your wife laughs differently. You notice when she walks into a room with more energy. You notice when she starts singing while cooking again. And Lauren had started singing again. Soon she was organizing small neighborhood barbecues, helping new families move in, collecting donations for veterans, delivering meals to elderly residents. She joined every community activity within a 10-mile radius. Then she somehow became one of the administrators for the neighborhood Facebook group, which, in my opinion, is the modern equivalent of accepting responsibility for managing a zoo. Every evening she'd tell me stories. Mrs. Henderson needed help with groceries. Jessica's husband is traveling for work, so I brought over dinner. We raised enough money for the veterans' care packages. She looked excited, purposeful, alive. One night, while we sat on the porch together, she leaned her head on my shoulder. "You know something?" she said softly. What? I finally feel like I'm doing something important. I smiled, because I meant every word I said next. I haven't seen you this happy in years. Lauren squeezed my hand, and for a while, everything felt perfect, which, as every married man knows, is usually the universe's way of saying, enjoy this while it lasts. At first, Lauren's new role in the neighborhood was actually adorable. I mean that sincerely. She was like a golden retriever with a clipboard. Every morning, her phone would buzz and her face would light up. Oh, Jessica needs the contact for the painter. Buzz. Denise wants to know if we still have folding chairs. Buzz. Mrs. Henderson's grandson is visiting, and she wants to know if teenagers still like pizza. I told her, Lauren, teenagers don't like pizza. Teenagers worship pizza. Pizza is basically their emotional support animal. She laughed and typed something back. The neighborhood loved her. And I don't mean they liked her. I mean they loved her in a way normally reserved for kindergarten teachers, emergency nurses, and people who bring extra ranch dressing to a party. Everywhere we went, someone stopped her. At the grocery store, Lauren, thank you again for organizing the meal train. At the school parking lot, Lauren, you're amazing. I don't know how you do it all. At the hardware store, Lauren Carter, the woman, the myth, the legend. That last one came from a man named Gary who wore cargo shorts in every season. Lauren would smile, wave, hug people, ask about their kids, their parents, their dogs, their knee surgeries, their roof repairs, their emotional support sourdough starters. And I would stand beside her holding a bag of mulch, smiling like a background extra in a movie called My Wife Knows Everyone. People started calling her the heart of the neighborhood. Kids called her Miss Lauren. Someone even posted in the Facebook group, can we all take a moment to appreciate Lauren Carter? This woman is the glue that holds our community together. That post got 183 likes. I know because Lauren showed me. 3 times. At dinner. Look, she said, sliding her phone toward me. I looked at the screen. That's nice. Nice? She said. Michael, that's almost the entire neighborhood. Great. If we ever need a small army, we know who to call. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. And I was happy for her. Really. The problem with being happy for someone is that sometimes you don't notice when their happiness starts eating your life one small bite at a time. It began with little things. Tiny things. Things so small that complaining about them made me feel like a petty man with too much free time and not enough emotional maturity. For example, we had planned a quiet dinner together one Friday night. Nothing fancy, just the 2 of us. No kids, because Emma was going to a sleepover and Ryan had practice followed by the ancient teenage ritual of hanging out somewhere and providing no details. I made a reservation at an Italian place Lauren liked. I even wore a shirt with buttons, which in my personal classification system counts as formal wear. At 6 o'clock, Lauren came downstairs in a nice dress, looked beautiful, kissed my cheek, and said, I'm just going to answer one quick message. Now, any married man hearing the phrase one quick message should immediately begin emergency preparations. It's never one, it's never quick, and it is rarely just a message. 10 minutes later, she was still typing. 20 minutes later, she was pacing in the kitchen. 30 minutes later, she looked at me with the face. I'm about to cancel something, but I'm going to say it gently, so technically, I'm not the villain face. Michael. I closed my eyes. No. Jessica needs help with the school fair. Tonight? They had 2 volunteers cancel. Tonight? They're trying to finalize the booth layout. Lauren, we have a reservation. I know, but this is important. So is dinner with your husband. She gave me a look like I had just compared our marriage to a bake sale and lost. We can go tomorrow. We plan tonight. I'll make it up to you. That's another phrase married people should fear. I'll make it up to you usually means, Please accept this emotional coupon that may or may not be redeemed before retirement. So she left. I changed back into sweatpants, ordered Chinese food, and watched a documentary about bridges collapsing, which felt thematically appropriate. When Lauren came home around 10:30, she was glowing. "That went so well," she said. "They were completely lost without me." I looked at her from the couch. "Glad someone got dinner." She winced. "I said I'd make it up to you." "Sure." And the thing is, she did seem sorry, for about 4 seconds. Then her phone buzzed again, and just like that, she was smiling at the screen. A few weeks later, our anniversary came around. 16 years. 16 years of marriage is not a small thing. By that point, you've survived mortgages, toddlers, school projects, stomach flu, family holidays, financial stress, arguments about thermostat settings, and at least one terrifying phase where someone thought gray walls were timeless. I booked a restaurant downtown, not the usual place, a nice place, the kind where the waiter describes the chicken's childhood before telling you how it was cooked. Lauren knew about it. We had talked about it all week. I got home early, showered, put on the good watch she bought me years ago, and even bought flowers. At 7, she wasn't home. At 7:15, I texted, "Everything okay?" No answer. At 7:30, I called. No answer. At 7:40, I opened Facebook, and there she was, smiling in the park, holding red, white, and blue bunting, standing next to a group of neighbors. Caption: "Huge thanks to Lauren Carter for helping us get the Independence Day decorations ready. We couldn't do it without you." I stared at the photo. There are moments in marriage when you don't get angry right away. You just go very still, like your brain needs a minute to process the fact that your wife is currently being publicly celebrated for standing you up. At 8:10, she finally called. "Oh my God, Michael, I'm so sorry." I said nothing. They needed help at the park. The decoration shipment came late, and everything was chaos. "It's our anniversary." "I know." "We had reservations." "I know. We can celebrate this weekend." Our marriage had officially been moved to a more convenient time slot, somewhere between neighborhood beautification and a Facebook poll about mailbox colors. When she came home, she brought cupcakes from the volunteer table. That was her peace offering. Nothing says happy anniversary like leftover patriotic frosting. She kissed my cheek and said, "Don't be mad," which is always fascinating, because apparently anger, like trash pickup, can be canceled by request. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't slamming doors. I wasn't doing anything dramatic. I just looked at her and said, "You forgot." She shook her head quickly. "No, I didn't forget. I just got pulled into something." "That's not better." She sighed. "Michael, people were counting on me." And there it was, the sentence that slowly became the third person in our marriage. People were counting on me. At first I let it go, because that's what I did. I let things go. I was calm, reasonable, supportive, the human equivalent of a padded chair. But then the comments started, from everyone, everywhere. "Michael, you are so lucky. Your wife is incredible. Lauren is an angel. She's the best thing that ever happened to this neighborhood." And I would smile, because what was I supposed to say? "Yes, she's wonderful. Please let me know if you see her at home." No. I smiled. I nodded. I accepted compliments on behalf of a marriage people only saw from the curb. But inside, a thought kept growing louder. Yes, Lauren was the heart of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, hearts are supposed to beat at home too. The strange thing about gradual changes is that nobody notices them while they're happening. If your spouse suddenly transforms overnight into a completely different person, alarms go off. But if it happens one tiny step at a time, you adapt. Humans are surprisingly good at adapting, which explains why frogs allegedly don't jump out of boiling water, and why I somehow accepted the fact that my wife answered neighborhood messages during dinner. At first it was harmless. Buzz. "Sorry, just 1 second. Buzz. Jessica has a question. Buzz. Denise can't find the sign-up sheet. Buzz. Gary thinks someone stole his recycling bin. I once asked, how does a grown man lose a giant blue container with wheels? Lauren didn't even look up. He thinks the Hendersons accidentally took it. The Hendersons are 83 years old. Exactly. Do they look like criminal masterminds to you? She laughed. But she still answered Gary. Eventually, dinner conversations started sounding ridiculous. How was work? She'd ask. Good. Buzz. What did the contractor say? Buzz. Everything's on schedule. Buzz. That's great, honey. Buzz. Then she'd smile at her phone. I wasn't competing with another man. Apparently, I was competing with 37 homeowners and a Facebook group called Maple Grove Community Updates, and I was losing badly. One evening, Ryan looked up from his plate and asked, Mom, are you texting us? Lauren blinked. What? Because you're sitting right here, but you're talking to everyone except us. Emma nearly choked, trying not to laugh. Lauren gave him the mom look. You know the one. The universal facial expression that says, I brought you into this world, and I can still make your life uncomfortable. Ryan immediately returned to eating, but I noticed something. Lauren looked hurt, like she genuinely hadn't realized what she was doing. She put the phone down for the rest of dinner. Unfortunately, that lasted approximately 24 hours. Soon she was attending meetings, planning committees, volunteer groups, school events, charity drives, neighborhood watch discussions. I had no idea why a neighborhood watch required 4 meetings, but apparently suburban crime demanded extensive PowerPoint presentations. Meanwhile, our family calendar began to resemble an airport departure board. Emma's debate competition, Ryan's soccer game, Lauren's charity breakfast, Lauren's planning session, Lauren's volunteer dinner, Lauren's emergency meeting. I asked one night, what exactly constitutes an emergency meeting in suburbia? She smiled. Someone double-booked the gazebo for September. I stared at her. Lauren, civilizations have risen and fallen without perfect gazebo scheduling. She laughed. But she still left. The kids noticed before I did. Teenagers pretend not to care about anything. That's one of their greatest talents. But they're paying attention all the time. Emma stopped asking Lauren for help with school projects. Ryan stopped reminding her about practices. At first, I thought they were just becoming independent, which, according to parenting books, is supposedly a good thing. Then, one Saturday morning, I found Emma decorating a poster by herself. Need help? I asked. She shrugged. I'm good. Didn't your mom usually help with these? Emma didn't even look up. She's busy. Not angry, not bitter, just matter of fact, which somehow felt worse. Ryan changed too. He had a soccer tournament coming up. Nothing huge, not the World Cup, not the Super Bowl, just something important to a 15-year-old boy. And when you're 15, you pretend nothing matters. He asked Lauren at breakfast, "Can you come next Saturday?" Without hesitation, she smiled. "Of course." Ryan grinned. And for a second, I saw the little boy he used to be. Promise? Promise. A week later, we attended one of the neighborhood barbecues. By then, these events had become mandatory. Not officially, but somehow missing one felt like violating the Geneva Convention. Everyone loved Lauren. Kids ran toward her. Adults hugged her. Someone handed her a clipboard before she had even finished saying hello. At one point, I lost sight of my own wife for 20 minutes. Which sounds alarming, except everyone else seemed to know where she was. Oh, Lauren's helping with desserts. Lauren's checking the raffle tickets. Lauren's talking to the Petersons. Around 8 o'clock, I walked over to her. "Hey," I said quietly. "We talked about leaving early, remember? We had planned to stop for ice cream on the way home. Nothing special. Just us. A small thing. Marriage is built on small things." Lauren was talking to 3 neighbors at the time. Without even turning fully toward me, she said loudly, "Michael, please, not right now, I'm busy." Everything stopped. Not literally, but enough. Jessica suddenly became fascinated by her paper plate. Gary studied his hamburger like it contained ancient wisdom. Someone's child dropped a hot dog. I stood there feeling 12 years old. Not because she disagreed with me. It was the tone. The way teachers talk to children, and she had done it in front of everyone. I smiled awkwardly, because apparently humiliation tastes better with potato salad. "No problem," I said. Then I walked away. Nobody mentioned it afterward. Lauren probably forgot about it 5 minutes later. But I remembered. Because men are funny that way. We remember stupid things, small moments that quietly sit inside your chest. And eventually, enough small moments become something heavy. Later that night, lying in bed beside Lauren, I stared at the ceiling. She was already asleep. Her phone rested on the nightstand, and I realized something uncomfortable. For months, I had been telling myself, she's happy, she's helping people. This is temporary. But another thought had started creeping in. What if this wasn't temporary? What if this was our life now? What if I had somehow become a supporting character in my own marriage? I rolled over and looked at my sleeping wife, the same woman I'd loved for 16 years, the same woman who used to dance with me in the kitchen, the same woman who still kissed me goodbye every morning. And yet, lying there in the dark, she felt strangely far away. Not because she had stopped loving us. That would have been easier to understand. No. The scary part was that she still loved us. She had just become convinced that everyone else needed her more. The morning of Ryan's regional game actually started perfectly, which, in hindsight, should have made me suspicious. Because life has taught me that whenever a sentence begins with, "Everything was going according to plan," something ridiculous is about to happen. Lauren was already awake when I came downstairs, coffee in hand, hair done, Ryan's team colors on, and for the first time in months, her phone wasn't glued to her hand. Ryan noticed immediately. His eyes widened. "You're really wearing blue?" Lauren looked offended. "Excuse me? I support my children." Ryan laughed. "You support the entire zip code." Even Lauren laughed at that one. The atmosphere felt different, lighter, normal. Emma came downstairs and nearly dropped her cereal bowl. "Wow, Mom's actually home before 9 on a Saturday. Somebody take a picture." "Very funny," Lauren said. "I'm serious. Historians will want evidence." For the first time in weeks, everyone was joking again. It felt like old times. I grilled pancakes. Ryan complained that I always burned one side. Emma declared that my pancakes violated several international treaties. And Lauren sat at the kitchen table smiling while watching us. It sounds stupid now, but I remember thinking, there's my wife, not Miss Lauren, not the Queen of Maple Grove, just Lauren, my Lauren. Ryan was practically vibrating with excitement. Not openly, of course. He was 15. Teenage boys would rather wrestle bears than admit they care about something, but little things gave him away. He checked his bag 3 times. He retied his cleats twice. He asked me if we'd leave early. Then he asked again 20 minutes later. Then he casually mentioned, "Coach says college scouts sometimes come to regionals." Casually. The same way people casually mention winning the lottery. Lauren smiled. "Really?" He shrugged. "Maybe." But I saw the smile he tried to hide, and Lauren saw it too. She walked over and fixed his hair. "You're going to do great," Ryan groaned immediately. "Mom, sorry, it's my job." "No, embarrassing me is your job." Also true. Everyone laughed. And honestly, I can't remember the last time our kitchen had felt so warm. At around 9 o'clock, while Ryan was loading equipment into the car, Lauren's phone rang. She looked at the screen, and I saw it happen. That tiny change in her expression, the same expression I'd seen dozens of times. The bat signal had gone up over Maple Grove. She answered. "Jessica?" Pause. Oh no. I closed my eyes, not because I was angry, because I was tired. After 2 years in this neighborhood, I had learned that oh no rarely involved actual danger. Usually somebody had forgotten balloons, or extension cords, or gluten-free cupcakes. Lauren listened for another minute. Then she stood up. The auction committee is short volunteers. Nobody said anything. Ryan slowly stopped tying his shoe. Emma looked down at her cereal. I just stared at the coffee maker. They've been setting up since 7, Lauren said softly. One of the coordinators got sick, and 2 families canceled. Ryan looked up. Mom? She immediately turned toward him. Honey, don't worry. I'll only be there for an hour. He blinked. But the game starts in an hour. I know. You promised we'd leave early. I'll meet you there. Ryan looked down at the floor. Not angry, just disappointed. And somehow disappointment hurts more. Lauren walked over and grabbed his shoulders. I promise I'll be there. As we drove to the field, Ryan kept looking at the passenger seat, the empty one, and every time his phone buzzed, I could tell he hoped it was her. At 9:42, she texted, running behind, but I'm coming. Ryan smiled. I smiled too, because after 16 years of marriage, you still want to believe the people you love. Even when experience quietly whispers, don't. Ryan's team won. Every few minutes, Ryan looked toward the parking lot. At halftime, he looked again. No Lauren. At the start of the second half, he checked his phone. No Lauren. By the end of the game, the chair was still empty. His team won 3-2. Parents ran onto the field. Pictures were taken. Kids celebrated. Ryan smiled with his teammates, but I knew my son. His smile never reached his eyes. On the drive home, Lauren texted again, I'm so sorry. Everything got crazy. I'll explain when I get home. Ryan read the message, then quietly put his phone away. That evening, I found him sitting alone on the backyard bleachers near the practice net we'd installed years earlier. He was still wearing his uniform. Good game, I said. He nodded. Then he said quietly, she didn't come. I kept thinking she'd show up. I know. He stared at the grass. Then he said something I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. Maybe we should have been born neighbors instead of her kids. I honestly had no answer for that. Because what exactly do you say to your son when he's not wrong? Lauren came home around 7. She looked exhausted, but she was smiling. Guys, the auction was amazing. We raised almost $20,000. Then she noticed the silence. What's wrong? Ryan stood up immediately. Nothing. And walked upstairs. Emma followed him. Lauren looked confused. What happened? I looked at her. Ryan's team won. Her face changed instantly. Oh my God. He kept a chair empty for you. Michael, he checked the parking lot the entire game. I told him I was coming. No, you promised him you were coming. She closed her eyes. I know, but people were counting on me. And something inside me finally snapped. That's the problem, Lauren. She stared at me. What? Everyone in this neighborhood thinks you're perfect. Michael, no, listen to me. Everyone tells me how lucky I am. Because you are. Am I? She looked shocked. You don't mean that. Really? Because lately I feel like I'm married to the mayor of Maple Grove. That's unfair. No. Unfair is a 15-year-old boy pretending he isn't hurt because his mother had another emergency meeting. Tears filled her eyes. You're just jealous that I've become the person everyone admires. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jealous? Yes. Lauren, I'm not jealous of the neighborhood. Then why are you attacking me? Because you became indispensable to people who would survive without you. I paused, and somehow became a stranger to the people who shouldn't have had to. She stared at me. I continued. You built amazing relationships with everyone out there. I pointed toward the window. And neglected the ones in here. That's not true. Really? Neither of us spoke. Finally, I said quietly, "The whole neighborhood loves you for a few hours a week." I looked upstairs toward our kids' rooms. "We loved you every day." For the first time in 16 years, Lauren had no answer. And that's how the Cold War started. No screaming, no dramatic threats, just silence. Sometimes silence is worse. Lauren stopped trying to explain herself. I stopped pretending everything was fine. Ryan buried himself in soccer. Emma buried herself in being 13, which mostly involved music, eye rolls, and the firm belief that parents are embarrassing life forms. Life continued. Lauren still went to her meetings, still organized events, still answered messages. But something had changed. At home, she wasn't laughing anymore. And for the first time since we'd moved to Maple Grove, I noticed something strange. Her phone still buzzed constantly, but now she looked tired every time she picked it up. Not excited, not energized, tired. Meanwhile, the neighborhood's biggest event of the year was approaching, the annual charity festival. Of course, Lauren was in charge. At this point, I assumed if aliens landed in Maple Grove, someone would immediately ask Lauren to organize parking. For weeks, she lived and breathed that event. Schedules, donations, vendors, silent auctions, food trucks, entertainment, volunteers, color-coded spreadsheets. Honestly, I think the Pentagon uses less paperwork. Then one evening she walked into the kitchen and said, "The festival is next Saturday." I nodded. "Okay." She hesitated. I thought maybe... I looked up. "Maybe you and the kids could come." That caught me off guard. Not because she invited us, because she sounded nervous, like she already knew the answer. "I'll ask them," I said. She nodded quietly. That's when I realized something. For the first time in years, Lauren wasn't assuming we'd automatically be there. The next evening at dinner, she tried again. "So, are you guys coming Saturday?" Ryan kept eating. Emma drank her water. Finally, Emma spoke. "I already have plans with Sophie." Lauren blinked. Then she looked at Ryan. "What about you?" Ryan shrugged. "Coach scheduled extra practice. Can you skip it?" He looked at her for a second. "You skipped my game." The room became silent. Lauren opened her mouth, closed it again. Ryan stood up. "I'm done," and walked upstairs. Emma quietly followed him, leaving just the two of us. Lauren stared at her plate. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then she whispered, "Do they hate me?" I sighed. "No." "Then why does everyone in this house act like I'm a stranger?" I looked at her for a long moment, then answered honestly, "Because somewhere along the way, you became one." She looked down immediately, and for the first time since our fight, I saw tears, real tears, not anger, not frustration, pain. But the festival was only 3 days away, and life in Maple Grove never stopped. Saturday arrived. Lauren left early, earlier than anyone else, because naturally, the woman running half the event had to be there before sunrise. She kissed my cheek before leaving. "Maybe I'll see you later." I simply said, "Maybe." Around noon, my phone rang. It was Lauren. Everything sounded loud behind her. Music, people, announcements, excited voices. "Hey," she said cheerfully. "Where are you guys?" "At home." Silence. "What?" "Emma's with her friend. Ryan's at practice. And I'm mowing the lawn." Another silence. "But you're not coming?" "No." Her voice became smaller. In the background, I heard somebody shouting, "Lauren, we need you near the raffle table." Another voice, "Lauren, where are the extra tickets?" Another, "Lauren, quick question." These voices used to make her happy. Now, for the first time, they sounded far away. "Michael?" "Yeah? Can we talk tonight?" I looked out at the backyard, at the soccer net, at the empty patio chairs, at the house we'd built together. Sure. And after I hung up, I had a strange feeling. Not victory, not satisfaction, Just sadness? Because sometimes the person who finally realizes they've been losing their family is the last person to notice. That evening, Lauren came home earlier than I expected. Not late, not talking on the phone, just quiet. The house was dark. Emma was still with her friend. Ryan had gone upstairs after practice, and I was sitting at the kitchen table. For a moment, Lauren simply stood there. No speeches, no excuses, no stories about the festival, just silence. Then she noticed something lying on the table. Old photographs. Not because I had prepared some grand emotional presentation. Honestly, I had been cleaning out a drawer earlier. Life has a strange sense of timing. There were pictures from our first house. Ryan holding a soccer ball bigger than his head. Emma covered in birthday cake frosting. Family vacations, Christmas mornings, beach trips, school plays, a terrible camping trip where I almost set our tent on fire. Good memories. Lauren slowly sat down. She picked up one picture. Ryan at 8 years old, standing beside her after his first soccer trophy. He was hugging her like she'd personally won the World Cup. Then she picked up another. Emma asleep on her shoulder during a road trip. Then another. All four of us at Disney, before Maple Grove, before everybody needed Lauren. She started crying. "I missed so much, didn't I?" she whispered. I didn't answer immediately, because after weeks of anger, I discovered something uncomfortable. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. Finally, I said, "You spent so much time saving everyone else." I looked around our kitchen. "That you stopped noticing the people who were always here." She covered her face. "I never meant for this to happen. I thought I was doing something good." She looked up. "You were helping people, Lauren, and that's not a bad thing. But somewhere along the way," I paused, "you started treating strangers like family, and your family like they could wait forever." She started crying again. "I don't know how to fix this. Neither do I." And that was the truth. Because life isn't a movie. Nobody gives a speech and magically repairs 16 years of marriage. Trust doesn't come back overnight. Neither do missed soccer games or broken promises. A few minutes later, Ryan came downstairs. He stopped when he saw his mother crying. For a second, nobody moved. Then Lauren stood up. "I'm sorry." Ryan looked uncomfortable immediately. "It's okay," he muttered. "No," Lauren said softly. "It's not." Silence. Then she added, "I missed your game. I'm sorry I broke my promise. And you deserved better." Then Ryan walked over and hugged her. Awkwardly, like only 15-year-old boys can. It lasted about 3 seconds, which in teenage years is basically a lifetime. Emma came home later and rolled her eyes at everyone crying. Then she cried too, because apparently sarcasm is not waterproof. Things didn't magically become perfect after that. Lauren stepped down from 2 committees. She gave up being an administrator for the Facebook group. To this day, I suspect half the neighborhood entered a period of national mourning. She still volunteers. She still helps people, because that's who she is. And honestly, I hope she never loses that part of herself. But now there are rules. Dinner means no phones. Family plans go on the calendar first. Promises to the kids are sacred. And every once in a while, we leave the house together. Just the 2 of us. Last month, we stopped for ice cream after dinner. As we sat there, Lauren reached for my hand. "You know," she said, smiling, "I think Maple Grove survived without me." I nodded. "Barely." She laughed. The real laugh. The one I hadn't heard in a long time. And in that moment, I realized something. The neighborhood never really needed saving. But our family did. And thankfully, we caught it before it was too late. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.